Hey, it's Robert Clickybeard, the host of the Commercial Landscaper podcast. For the next 30 minutes, I'm inviting you to high-impact conversation with some of the most accomplished leaders and entrepreneurs in our space. This isn't fluff. It's real, battle-tested insight rooted into my book, The Ironman Mindset for Entrepreneurs, that will challenge you to grow as a leader, stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone, and scale your business the smart way. Our audience has now doubled, and I'm hearing every week how these episodes are helping business owners sharpen their edge, increase profitability, and raise the bar across the industry. So here's my ask. If this episode sparks something for you, please share it with either a teammate, fellow business owner, or a friend that needs that extra push. We're building something bigger here, and I want you to be part of it. Big news. Our digital courses are now live at wilson360.com. These are built for ambitious leaders like you, alongside training classes designed to build your team, along with the tools they need to win. I'm also thrilled to welcome our new sponsor, Bomb Data. They're transforming how commercial landscapers manage labor with intuitive analysis and help you control costs and boost margins. Check them out, and if you're ready to make data your competitive advantage. Thanks for listening, and let's keep pushing things forward.
Urtur is a lifestyle brand born from grit, founded by Zach Strauser. Their mission is clear: to raise $1 million for the trades by supporting vocational training across North America. Urtur makes tough, smart gear built for landscaping and snow pros who work hard outside every day in all conditions. Their apparel puts safety first, helps crews look sharp, and honors the pride in their craft. Every purchase has purpose, fueling training programs and building a resilient workforce. Urtur isn't just workwear, it's a culture of respect, resilience, and results.
Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper podcast. Really excited today to be joined by Lukas Iraola. Did I get that right?
You were very close. It's Iraola.
Very close.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So tell the audience a little bit about your background, please.
My dad owned a landscaping company for my entire life. So I grew up in the industry, and he had a pretty small, mostly maintenance company in Montgomery County, Maryland and Washington, D.C. He had 6 employees that did about $500,000 in revenue, and he liked his business, right around that size. When I graduated college and moved back home, I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, but I didn't want to work for my dad. So him being pretty content with the size of his business, he helped me start my own landscaping company, which after a few years, I transitioned out of doing the physical work and into just managing a small team. I had 4 people, about 70 maintenance clients. And he had always my whole life talked to me about real estate and, told me that I should buy a home as soon as I can. So, once I had made that transition, I bought a condo and I saw the commission check that the realtor who represented me made. And I thought to myself, I'm in the wrong industry. So,
I can see that.
Yeah. So I ended up very soon after that, I got my real estate license and I started to offer free landscaping services to anybody who wanted to put their home on the market to increase the curb appeal of their property. So I started to sell a few homes. I had a pretty big network growing up in this area. So I also helped family members and friends buy and sell their properties. And, at that point in time in my career, trying to break into real estate and manage a small landscaping team was difficult. And I was more passionate about real estate as well. So I ended up hiring a business broker. I sold my landscaping company. I got into real estate full time. And my first year in real estate, I sold $10 million worth of real estate, and then 15 the next year, then 20, then 25, and slowly built out my team. Fast forward to today, we're a team of 14 people, and that's a combination of agents and staff. This past year, we sold $75 million. I had transitioned out of sales about 2 years ago, which is right around the time, and this is kind of bringing the story full circle. That's right around the time where my dad was going to sell his company, and his plan was to use the same broker that I used when I sold my business. So I had transitioned out of real estate sales and also was just more comfortable in business and in managing a team. So I ended up purchasing his company from him in the beginning of 2023, and we doubled the size of the business that year. And then this past year, I acquired another local landscaping company, which doubled the size of the business again. I have a business partner who helps with most of the day-to-day operations of the real estate team. I also raise capital and partner with developers that I built relationships with in DC on development deals. And then I'm managing and growing the landscaping team as well.
You've got entrepreneurial spirits running through your bodies, running through your veins.
Yep.
Now, one of the things that we talked about offline was you got a good workforce with the landscape companies. And we talked about these are all great employees. They're the ones who are doing all the hard work every single day. But, I found that a lot of my employees, they're now settled in this country, looking to bring up their families and just struggled with, how do I get into that position where I'm owning a home or, building some savings? And a lot of them really struggled in that area. I'd love to, the audience just to hear about what some of the things that you're doing to help your employees.
Kind of backtracking a bit again here. So my dad is an immigrant who came to the United States and raised me and my three brothers, owning this landscaping company. And a lot of the workforce is exactly what you said. There are, a lot of Hispanics, and it's lower income jobs. And a lot of them don't have knowledge around, finances and how to save and how to budget and create an opportunity or a pathway for them to eventually own homes. Something that I started at the end of 2023 was a program to, help encourage, incentivize, and also educate my landscaping employees around the benefits of home ownership and understanding, appreciation of properties and what that really means and looks like, what the tax advantages of owning homes are, what the step-by-step process is of buying a home, how to maintain a property after purchasing it. If they had been with the company for at least 3 years, then I would offer a grant of up to $7,500, which would go towards their down payment for their home purchase. I am really passionate about trying to educate and give back to the landscaping community, and especially my employees around real estate, because I am very knowledgeable in the real estate space. But something that I found, and I know I mentioned this to you, but something that I found is that a lot of these guys, before they're really thinking about or putting themselves in the shoes of being a homeowner, they have to understand finances better, and they have to understand how to budget, and they have to understand, how to put aside money each month towards savings. So I've kind of rewritten the program. And another thing too is I've now been back in the landscaping space for just 2 years. So it's a work in progress. Everything in this company is a work in progress, but this program specifically is definitely, it started out as, okay, I want everyone in my company to buy a house. That was the goal. And now it's kind of shifted to, okay, I actually need to work on just an understanding, a baseline understanding of finances, and work actionable items towards purchasing a property. And one thing I'll touch on is as an example is, so this coming year, everyone who can bring their credit score up to 650 is going to be entered into a raffle to win some sort of a prize. And we have monthly challenges that mostly are related to landscaping, like who has the cleanest truck and who has, the lowest actual hours worked on a job site versus budgeted hours, to incentivize the crews to do different things that we want to track internally in the company. But I also am trying to work in some of the financing to that as well, so that people are incentivized to have success in the finance space too.
Oh, no, I love that. I know that's something that we did in our company, is that, home ownership, the financial side of things, and we would bring in advisors every so often. It sounds like you have a pretty good program in place. Is that done weekly? Is that done monthly, quarterly? How do you roll that out? And, do you have a pretty good syllabus built out that they can follow?
Well, like I mentioned, it's definitely a work in progress.
Okay.
What I did last year is I had 2 company-wide text messages that would go out, and they would have a home ownership tip. The second text would be some information on properties that have appreciated in this area. So what homes were bought for and what they've sold for. And I kind of would pick different properties that had either transacted quickly or 20 or 30 years apart from where one owner purchased from when that owner then sold the home. Because, some of those numbers, I think a lot of people don't know that the property that, is worth $500,000 right now, 30 years ago, the person who bought that home bought it for $57,000 or $100,000, $92,000. And in 30 years in the future, the $500,000 house is going to have significant appreciation appreciation. So if you can get into a home, you can really build some strong generational wealth. So there's a lot of power there. So I really wanted to kind of drive that point home. And then we had quarterly meetings that, I ran that would talk about different facets of home ownership. But this coming year, again, I'm kind of shifting that a bit towards just basics of finances. And I do think I'm going to be bringing in some speakers. There's also some online courses. I know the Khan Academy. I'm not sure if you've heard of.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about them.
Yeah, so they have a program that's in English. One's in English and one's in Spanish. One of the monthly incentives is actually just going to be to complete the academy. And if you've done that, again, you're entered into a raffle to win. Our prizes are usually around $250. So it'll be one crew that will win the raffle, and then each team member in that crew gets to pick one of the prizes that we have.
I mean, what sort of feedback are you getting from your team? I mean, do they appreciate, what you're trying to do? Did it take a while to sort of build that trust to be able to share some of that knowledge? To tell me about some of the, I suppose, pros and cons or obstacles you overcame.
I would say that there's a slightly larger percentage of people that are interested and encouraged by what we're doing. And I think that they really feel that this is a company that's not just trying to look out for their bottom line, doesn't really have any company culture, or doesn't really care about their employees. So I think that energy exists. And I think that most everyone in the company can feel that, because it is genuine. We're not doing this because we want to use it as like an advertising campaign, or we want to, we genuinely are trying to help our employees and create a strong culture where people both want to stay and also to recruit talent. So I think that most people do feel that, but there is a percentage of the workforce that have told me I'm not interested in being a homeowner. I don't want to buy a home. And my dad had a huge influence on me to get into real estate, to learn about real estate. He was always talking to me, my brothers, about, the power of real estate and getting into it and buying a home. And part of me now is it's a little scary, but becoming my dad and kind of, being like, why would you not want to buy a house? Like, of course you want to buy a house. You should.
Right.
But I need to back off and I think there's a balance of encouragement and also letting people make the decisions they want to make.
Yeah. What's the saying? You lead them to water.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, it's great that you do that. And I'm sure it probably helps with not only retaining employees, but attracting employees. If you're willing to, do something to better their life and improve the culture and their, living conditions, then that must be seen or appreciated by the employees.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there is that energy and people feel it and we talk about it. I think it's contributed to a very strong work culture. And, we haven't touched on this, but the acquisition that I did last year and kind of telling the employees of the business that I acquired what we're doing and what the mission of the company is, and really leaning into that and telling everyone my story. I think that it contributes to why everyone stayed with the business. Can't predict the future, but I would like to hope and think that not only from the workforce standpoint, but from anyone who would be interested in coming in on a higher level or a leadership role would also, feel that our company is just doing things a little bit differently, and we have a unique value proposition, and there's a good, strong culture that exists in the business.
You still always have worry when you acquire a company or being acquired, what the new owner's going to come in, and you've come in with some positive measures and messages around bettering their life and improving their benefits or conditions, then that's always greatly appreciated. So I can see that helping a lot.
Yeah, I think it has. I think also, just for what it's worth, this most recent acquisition, I looked at 3 landscaping businesses, 2 off market, 1 on market, before writing an offer on this 4th one that I ended up going under contract for and purchasing. And I didn't end up writing an offer on the first 3 because it, wasn't a good fit for different reasons. But that said, I think I also got a bit lucky with this acquisition that I did make, because the owner had done an amazing job of also creating a very strong culture. Me and him were very aligned on just our philosophy on business, and he came on and still works with me and the team now. And his daughter was running the office and she also came on, and both of them, I can't say enough good things about. They're just great people and they ran a really good company. So I think part of it too is I got lucky with them.
To talk to a little bit more about the acquisition side, because it sounds like you're starting to acquire companies. I'm sure you've probably got a few more you're thinking about, but what type of things you look for when you start to look for a company, and then what are some of the red flags that will quickly turn you off and you move on to a different company?
I'll start by saying I'm not an acquisitions pro. So, some of the reasons I didn't write an offer on the three that I mentioned, the reasons I thought it maybe wasn't a good fit were contracts were not structured. One guy had properties that he was mowing their lawn every 10 days to 15 days, depending on when it was needed. And I was like, well, who decides that? You were the client. And like, what's the what's the feedback and push? And it just sounded messy and not organized, and there wasn't clear expectations with the clients. And I didn't think there'd be able to be a smooth transition into our systems. Another company was kind of scattered in terms of where their clients were, and a decent amount of them were out of our service area. And we're really trying to focus on route density. So, I thought that just didn't make too much sense to acquire that business. A third, it was a financing discrepancy. Essentially, the owner wanted to sell off market, but he wanted a cash deal and he was not open to bank financing or owner financing. There was too much risk from my perspective to approach the financing with just buying him out in cash.
Right.
So I'm kind of looking for, at least at this point in time, companies that are in the same service area as my business right now, that are offering most of the same things that my company's offering. And I'm also looking for how organized the business owner is and how quickly they're able to get me different pieces of information that I'm asking for. Because being on the real estate side of sales for so long, I found that homeowners that have records of every single maintenance of their HVAC system, and you can tell that they have just kept good care of their home and maintained it over the years. Those properties, once the buyer purchases them, there's usually not any issues. But homeowners that don't do that, even if nothing comes up in a home inspection, a month or 2 or 5 months down the line, there are issues that surface. So I think that the ownership has a really big influence on how the business is run, and I'd much rather work with an owner that you just feel has cared about their company and taken really good care of their clients and employees.
What's your expectation on a seller and how long they stay with the business? You want them there long term, a month, 3 months? What do you see out there?
The way I structured it with this owner was, I believe, 2 months. We got to know each other, and again, he stayed on. That's a good question. I don't have a great answer. I think that the longer you can have someone stay on, the better. If it's 2 months, that's great. But if it's 3+, that's even better. If you're able to structure an offer or a contract where the owner is incentivized based on retention, then that's an even better setup for me as a buyer. It depends on how competitive the business is and how it's priced and what financing is negotiated. Because if it's an owner finance deal, it could be a pretty light out-of-pocket lift for me, and there would be some value there. So I think you got to look at the whole deal and what the terms are. The longer, the better. I am talking with someone who I've been talking with for maybe 2 years now, and he's close to wanting to sell. And I think that my thought process or expectation around how long he stays has increased, because I've just seen, this previous owner staying on, how well I was able to integrate his clients into our system. I'd really like this new owner to stay on longer.
I mean, sometimes they have the ability to get some chips off the table and to get back into something they enjoy doing. Maybe they came in enjoying sales, and then they got sucked into the day-to-day minutiae of operations, and it was a grind to them. So yeah, I find that if sellers get back to doing something they enjoy, maybe if it's in part-time sales position or something, then they can get re-energized.
Yeah, I agree. I think that everyone has their thing that they enjoy most in the business, and if you can align with anyone on, you love this and you're great at it, why don't you only do that? And we can hire other people to do the things that you're not interested in doing and you're not as good at doing. Then you can set someone up to be pretty happy. When your people people are happy and doing what they're best at, that's ideal for everybody.
For sure. Just wrapping up things here, Lucas, what's the best way for people to connect with you, to find out what you do, maybe find out a little bit about the program you offer to your employees? Maybe it's a good way to help retain their employees.
Yeah, I would say that LinkedIn would probably be best, or if anyone wants to shoot me an email, that's also fine. And my email address is just my first name and then last name at gmail.com. So it's pretty simple. There's no dot in between first name and last name. So feel free to shoot me an email as well.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Lucas, really appreciate your sharing what you do with your employees. Good luck with your business expansion through your acquisitions. And give us an update on how your conversations progress.
Thank you. I appreciate being here too.
Cool. Thank you, Lucas. Take care.
Yep. Cheers.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Commercial Landscaper podcast. I hope you're walking away with one powerful insight you can apply immediately, whether it's in your leadership function, your operations, or how you show up every day with that Ironman mindset. Remember, growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens through intentional moves, bold conversations, and surrounding yourself with the right voices. That's what this podcast is all about. If you found value today, do me a favor, subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with someone in your circle who's ready to raise their game. And don't forget, our Wilson 360 digital courses are now live and ready to go. So go to wilson360.com, explore the tools that are helping hundreds of contractors to level up across leadership, account management, and operations, and more. And a huge shout out again to Bomb Data, our newest sponsor, helping landscapers make smarter decisions with real-time labor analytics. If you're serious about margins, they should be on your radar. Until next time, stay sharp, stay focused, and keep leading with purpose. Have a pure, dead, brilliant day. Cheers, everyone.